Psychological disorders are defined by behavior patterns or mental processes that cause serious personal suffering or interfere with a person's ability to cope with everyday life. Those with the disorders are classified because they stray from average behaviors and usually show inappropriate or eccentric behaviors. In this video, we will be reading short stories, all from first-person point of view, as examples of these disorders. Afterwards, we will be defining the disorder, listing the symptoms, and giving a clinical example. The source of the clinical example will be shown thereafter. Catching my breath while hovering over the side of my bed is not my ideal of sleep. I couldn't help it, but the nightmares brought to me every single night haunted me. I looked at my clock that read 5:46 a.m., around the same time I woke up every single night. I looked up at the ceiling in my bedroom, trying to repress my thoughts of the incident. I blinked my eyes and my heartbeat quickened. I could feel the cool air brush my arms. I could hear my heartbeat yelling at me. I gripped the side of my bed. I tried to think of something else, anything at all, but the memories kept rushing back in my mind.
Post-traumatic stress is a form of anxiety caused by a traumatic experience. Symptoms include flashbacks, nightmares, numbness of feelings, and avoidance due to the experience. Other forms of anxiety are phobic disorders, which is a persistent, excessive, irrational fear of an object or situation. Panic disorder, and agoraphobia, which is fear of being in places and situations in which are impossible to escape. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, which is repetitive ritual behaviors of unwanted thoughts, ideas, or mental images.
A 90-year-old woman has been a patient at the Beecham Ambulatory Care Center since 2000. She is fully functional and fully independent. She provides care for the homebound husband who has severe COPD. They live in a row home specifically close to the hospital to ensure access to house calls for her husband. In September 2000, the husband dies as a result of respiratory arrest. Her only relative is a nephew who talks with her about once a month. In October 2002, her home is broken into and our patient is raped and robbed. She was taken to a local hospital specializing in rape. Here she is distressed, delusional, and is reported to be very emotionally distraught, or otherwise suffering from post-traumatic stress. I was facing my aunt, trying to plead with her at the breakfast table. She would get into these fits, proclaiming I knew about something I don't, and here she was, yelling right in my face about it. My uncle pulls her into the living room, and I can hear harsh whispers coming from both of them. I don't understand. She always brings something up about a fire.
Dissociative amnesia is a form of a dissociative disorder characterized by a sudden loss of memory, usually following a particularly stressful or traumatic event. Dissociative fugue is characterized by forgetting personal information and past events, but also by suddenly relocating from home or work and taking on a new identity. Dissociative identity disorder involves the existence of two or more personalities within a single individual. It is otherwise known as multiple personality disorder. Personalization disorder refers to feelings of detachment from one's mental processes or body.
Some survivors of the World Trade Center attacks do not remember how they got out of the damaged buildings or what streets they took to get away from the area. Or, a veteran of D-Day may recall some details such as eating a meal on the run or taking prisoners but not others, as seeing a close friend being hit or losing a commanding officer. The sunlight peered through my window. I opened my eyes and sighed. At least I had the feeling in my legs this morning. It's a constant struggle of wondering if I will wake up being able to walk or wake up feeling paralyzed from the waist down. My dad emerged at the side of my bed, ready to carry me to my wheelchair if needed. Not today, I said with a small smile. It was embarrassing, needy, and just uncomfortable, having to tell my father if I was strong enough to get out of bed. On days I wasn't physically able to, I wasn't mentally. I walked slowly to the breakfast table, trying to appreciate every step I took. I sat down with my meal and stared out the window at two young kids playing and kicking around a ball. All my worries were towards tomorrow. Will I or won't I be able to walk?
The conversion disorder is a change in or loss of physical functioning in a major part of the body for which there is no known medical explanation.
A woman who believes it is not acceptable to have violent feelings may suddenly feel numbness in her arms after becoming so angry that she wanted to hit someone. Instead of allowing herself to have violent thoughts about hitting someone, she experiences the physical symptom of numbness in her arms. I don't understand why the world turns and why it doesn't shake everything it takes with it. I feel shaken, like I can't get a grasp on reality. I walk through the door to my home and walk directly up the stairs. I avoid speaking with my mother. I don't want to talk about my day. She's gotten used to this now. She doesn't ask me anymore. I throw my backpack to the side of my bed and throw myself on top. I take out my earphones and blast music into my body to try and push out all the bad feelings. It doesn't work, although I sometimes like to tell myself it does.
Major depression is a mood disorder that involves feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness, guilt, and sadness. Symptoms must be present for at least 2 weeks and occur about every day to be diagnosed. Bipolar disorder is another mood disorder where an individual goes through a cycle of mood changes from depression to wild elation and back.
Mood disorders are very common, and major depression affects more than 100 million people worldwide. I need to get out. They're coming. I have to run to Dr. Thurbin's house and tell him my plan. If they find me here, they'll take away my plan and kill me. They want this information that only I have. I can trust Dr. Thurbin, I know this. But if he betrays me, I will kill him. I will kill him with my own bare hands. No one can stop me either. I will take this information with me to the end of the earth. If anyone tries to steal it from me, I will kill them too. I will not hesitate. Schizophrenia is severe conditions marked by disordered thoughts and communications, inappropriate emotions, and bizarre behavior that lasts for years. Paranoid schizophrenia includes frequent hallucinations and delusions that are connected and pointed. An individual may even think that they are someone else completely. Disorganized schizophrenia consists of giggling, grimacing, anger, and frantic exaggerated gestures. Catatonic schizophrenia is complete disturbance of movement in which one goes into a coma-type state, often in unusual and uncomfortable positions. Daniel is 21 years old. 6 months ago, he was doing well in college and holding down a part-time job in the stockroom of a local electronics store. But then he began to change, becoming increasingly paranoid and acting out in bizarre ways. First, he became convinced that his professors were out to get him since they didn't appreciate his confusing off-topic classroom rants. Then he told his roommate that the other students were in on the conspiracy. Soon after, he dropped out of school. From there, things just got worse. Daniel stopped bathing, shaving, and washing his clothes. At work, he became convinced that his boss was watching him through surveillance bugs planted in the store's television sets. Then he started hearing voices telling him to find the bugs and deactivate them. Things came to a head when he acted on the voices, smashing several TVs and screaming that he wasn't going to put up with the illegal spying anymore. His frightened boss called the police and Daniel was hospitalized. I stare at the groups of people sitting at each table. I would love to go and sit with someone. But what if I say something wrong? What if they're disgusted by the fact I sat near them? Who am I kidding? If they would want me to sit with them, they would have asked. They would have looked at me and smiled. They would have invited me to come over. I'm so stupid. I walked towards the empty hallways to eat my lunch there instead.
People with avoidant personality disorder want relationships, but fear of disapproval keeps them from doing so. They are shy, withdrawn, and have very severe social problems and phobias. People with paranoid personality disorder are distrustful, suspicious of others, are argumentative, cold, and live in an isolated life. People with schizoid personality disorder show no interest in wanting relationships with people and lack normal emotional responsiveness. People with antisocial personality behavior do not feel guilt or remorse, usually hurt people in childhood, and are reckless in their adulthood.
A 35-year-old computer programmer presents for treatment at the urging of his new girlfriend whom he met online. He describes himself as being painfully shy since childhood. There's no history of language delay, odd interests, or unawareness of social cues. On the contrary, he tends to overinterpret cues, believing that he is being negatively viewed by others. He has always had difficulty forming close friendships, not because of a lack of desire, but because of an intense fear of rejection and disapproval. He endured adolescence with difficulty as his self-esteem dropped. In college, he became absorbed in his studies and avoided most social encounters because they were so difficult for him. After graduation, he looked for work that would minimize social interaction and opportunities to be judged by others. He He did manage to meet his current girlfriend through a social networking website, but she complains that he does not relate to her in an intimate manner.